And we are officially in Dolan's dugout. You know why? It's baseball season, for sure. Braden Surprenant, Adam Paul, your host, Steve Dolan. No turning back, guys. It's baseball season, man. It's June 30th. We got less than 30 days to go. They're going to play some other sports, too. Going to play every sport, Steve, but, man, you guys are going to be busy.
Well, Ramon, it's great to hopefully have baseball back. And, of course, as you mentioned, our special guest tonight, Braden Surprenant. And, of course, Braden, you're with 97.3 The Fan, the official Padres radio station. How's everything going there, getting geared up for the season and all, I would imagine?
Yeah, we're really excited to get ready for the season, of course. And me and Chrisella have already started figuring out days that we need to work together to get the pregame and postgame show up and away. But a lot of things we got to work on in terms of getting things ready to go. We've been thinking about it again for the last couple of months. It's not like we're going into this thing blind. So I know Adam Klug at 97 Through the Fan has got some plans ready to go. Dave Marcus is ready. We already put in the plans for what we're going to do in terms of broadcasting the game with Ted and Jesse, all the protocols that need to be in place, of course, and then, of course, what happens when they go on the road. Major League Baseball did say radio broadcast crews could go on the road if they wanted to on their own. The Padres put the kibosh on that, though, so we will not see Ted or Jesse on the road in Anaheim or Los Angeles or any place that they could go. They're going to play it safe. They're going to call the games from Petco Park. From a monitor and stuff, which is probably the safe bet with, making sure everybody's okay and stuff. But we're excited for baseball to start. Starts in 25 days now as we get closer, and then I can start a new countdown. I'm tired of counting days of how many days I've been stuck inside. I'd rather count down the days to baseball. It's a lot more positive, a lot more fun. But I'm excited for baseball to start, and the Padres have a really fun team, and even without expanded playoffs, the fact that there's only 60 games and we got a lot of young kids and a lot of good arms, the Padres should be in a pretty good position here to make a run at something.
Well, Braden, a couple of things you said very interesting. First of all, like you said, on the road games, of course, like you said, 97.3 The Fan will actually be doing it from Petco Park. And, of course, now it's been announced today, too, Fox Sports San Diego is going to be doing the same thing. So, really, when they're on the road, the announcers will be at home. And another thing you talked about is the team. What I found interesting, Braden, with the Padres going in is that their top 13 prospects are among the 52 players. You may as well. I mean, you're going to have 30 guys in the start, going down to 28 to 26 on your roster. Why not have the Mackenzie Gores, the Luis Patinos, their top draft choice from this year, C.J. Abrams, their top draft choice from last year? Why not have all those guys there? I mean, a lot of those young guys aren't necessarily going to play, but they're going to be around the major leagues, and they're going to get a real quick indoctrination, I would imagine.
Right. A lot of those guys will just be, working out with guys that are in the pros, too, like anybody that's on the taxi squad and being able to, inter-squad scrimmages with those guys, but the majority of it is to get them work. If you're on the 40-man, it's a lot easier to jump up to the major leagues. It's the same rules that apply, though. So if you're not on the 40-man roster and you're on the 60-man, roster, the taxi squad, you have to be added to the 40-man, which means you got to get rid of somebody off the 40-man in order to play in the big league. So the guys like Robert Hassel III, the first-round draft pick, the guys like C.J. Abrams, the guys, they can go down the list. I think Joey Cantillo is one of those guys as well. Some of those young guys that are on the 40-man, they're just basically there to get reps because they're the top guys and they're the guys that have the most promising future for the Padres and guys they expect to be in the big leagues very shortly. So I don't see a situation where any of them are added to the 40-man. You see them. I will say, though, the guys that are already on the 40-man roster, like a Mackenzie Gore, like a Luis Patino, those are a couple guys that you will probably see at some point in time. And now with the way the season is, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Mackenzie Gore makes the opening day roster now, something that we didn't think would happen for a full season. But still needs to be shaken out. Plus, we don't know who's going to get the virus during these next 3 weeks. We don't know who's going to opt out. It sounds like based on everything we know, it doesn't sound like any Padres currently are going to opt out of the season, which is positive news if you're a Padres fan. They still have time to do that, though. Because you heard Ian Desmond's not going to play for the Colorado Rockies. You're not going to have Ryan Zimmerman for the Nationals. You're not going to have Joe Ross for the Nationals. And then Mike Leake, the Fallbrook, local, is not going to play for the Arizona Diamondbacks either. He's going to sit out the season and then get his $5 million buyout at the end of the year before he returns for 2021. Good news is that those guys are retiring. They're all coming back next year. They're just going to sit this year out. I'm sure we're going to have a handful of other players that will probably make that decision as well. But based on what we know and based on what the Padres are telling us, it doesn't sound like any San Diego Padres are going to do that, but we'll have to wait and see.
Now, Braden, what do you think as far as a 60-game season? One thing I've read on MLB.com was they were talking about possible surprise teams in a shorter season. They said number 1, Toronto Blue Jays, number 2, Texas Rangers, number 3, San Diego Padres. Do you think, and why do you think a shorter season actually benefits the Padres going in?
Well, there's a couple reasons why the season benefits the Padres. One, they have a lot of young guys. And when you have a lot of young guys, they're built for sprints. They're not built for marathons. They'll come out of the gate hot. They're ready to play. And the teams that have a lot of veteran players usually wear them out over time. And you don't have – I mean, think about it this way. Think about all the innings limits we watched last year with some of these young guys and different type of these guys go through different stretches, and then they figure you out. And eventually when they figure you out, they kind of wear you down. Having a lot of young talent, you can go out to a hot start. I mean, only 60 games. The Padres had a winning record, I'm pretty sure, last year at the 60-game mark. They were like 31-29. So that plays a factor. They're built on their bullpen. We were talking about this in February and early March during spring training. They arguably have one of the best bullpens, if not the best bullpen in baseball. And that's going to play a huge factor in this as well, because you don't have starters going long innings this year because they're not, obviously – geared up, ready to go as much as they would want them to. So you're going to have to rely on your bullpen. And if you got to rely on your bullpen, you might as well rely on some guys that know how to throw and some guys that are going to be good in the back end. So that gives the Padres a lot of depth. I think the expanded rosters helps the Padres out too, because there's a lot of teams that have 25 guys that are really good and then it falls off. And if you're the Padres, you have a flurry of guys that all can compete at the major league level, including some of those guys that we listed that aren't on the 40-man roster. So they got a lot of depth, they got a lot of youth, and they got a really good bullpen. This plays perfectly into the Padres' hands. Teams that usually dominate Major League Baseball are teams that are built for marathons, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the teams that have a lot of money that can wear you down over a long period of time. But you got 60 games. It's anybody's game. People coming out of the gate hot, and you lose 7 games in a row. Mathematically, it's equivalent to losing 19 straight. So it's going to be fun to see. And then again, the other thing is too is the Padres. I wouldn't say they have the best schedule, but they have a pretty favorable schedule in terms of who they're playing in the American League. And of course, they lose the AL Central matchup that they were supposed to get, which probably would have helped them out a little bit more because AL Central is not nearly as good as the AL West. But when you start breaking down what they determine the games are going to be, and we'll wait to see what the schedule is, they said you got 6 games against your interleague rival. And the Padres' interleague rival is the worst team in the AL West. It's the Seattle Mariners. And they get 6 games against the Mariners, whereas teams like the Dodgers got to play the Angels 6 times, the poor Rockies/Diamondbacks. Somebody's going to have to play the Astros 6 times. So that works out for the Padres' favor, too. You get to play all the teams out west, and you get to play the Giants. I think the Padres are better than the Rockies. You're going to have to get as many games you can against the Diamondbacks and then try to tread water against the Dodgers. But you got a pretty favorable schedule to throw on there as well. There's a lot of factors going into this season that not only the Padres benefit from, but there's a lot of teams in baseball that benefit from.
I'd say it's a tough schedule with 40 and 20, 40 against your division, 20 against the American League West. I think that's somewhat tough, but also I would say, rookie manager as well. Other than that, I'm on board with everything Braden just said, and I proposed to the commissioner that the season actually be 10 games long.
Yeah. Well, Bonnie, it's funny when something Braden said that really touched home with me is the Padres bullpen. I mean, like you say, Braden, their bullpen is probably just about as good as any, and that's going to be such a factor early because I don't even know starting pitchers will go 5 innings. For instance, everybody's talking now about the first game, Garrett Cole and the Yankees against Max Scherzer and the Nationals for 5 innings, because after the 5th inning, it's going to come down the bullpens anyway.
Oh, Garrett Cole's going to go more than 5 innings. Come on.
I don't think so. And Adam, another thing, too, that I want to wonder about pitchers, I don't think very many are going to go 5 innings at the start. Will a starting pitcher have to go 5 innings right away to get a win? Because you're going to see guys go 3-4 innings. When you have 17 guys, 17 pitchers, which means you're going to have 12 pitchers in the bullpen, you're going to be going to the bullpen early and often in the season.
Adam, these finely tuned athletes need 30 days to get ready for a 60-day season, Adam?
No. That's why the Yankees paid the guys the big bucks. Mr. Garrett Cole is going to lead. He's going to help lead them. It's going to be a Padres-Yankees World Series. You watch. But no, in all seriousness, I'm excited. It's going to be really interesting. I think it would be really cool if with the Padres getting some buzz. I think it'd be really cool to have them on national television on that opening night. You got the you got the
it'll be the Dodgers.
They got the Yankees versus the Nationals at the 5 o'clock game, and then the 8 o'clock game or whatever. You got in the nightcap. You got the Dodgers versus the Padres, and Fernando Tatis Jr. on national television. It goes back to what we were talking. It goes back to what we were talking about and promoting the stars. The up and coming stars. Baseball has to do that now, in all honesty, because 3 months they've been squabbling back and forth, and I think a lot of people, are, they're kind of mad about that. So they got to do something to promote the game a little more, and especially their superstars.
Braden, we get off to a 25-15 start, man. You pack up that broadcast equipment because we're going on the road to cover those games.
In the playoffs.
Hey, man,
I
got the protocol in terms of getting credentials and stuff, and there's nothing that I can't get one on the road. So I'm going to try my hardest. They go up to Anaheim, they go up to LA. I got a lot of friends in Texas, so if they play on the road against the Rangers, absolutely, I'm gone. It's over a weekend where he's playing football. I'm gonna go out there and go cover the game. See if I can go to that new ballpark they got out there in Arlington. Globe Life Field, or whatever the heck they're going to call it out there. But I'm looking forward to just baseball in general. And I'm one of the more positive guys. I think we're going to get through a lot of this COVID-19 stuff. And we'll get to a point where hopefully we'll have some fans and stands in some capacity down the road. I'm not going to throw away 2020 yet. I got to stay positive. And like I tweeted out the other day, we got to prepare for the worst, obviously, but hope for the best. There's nothing really that benefits anybody if you're just going to sit there and be negative about it, regardless if it's realistic or not. You might as well have hope.
Steve, the projected lineup for the Padres isn't much unlike what you said at the beginning of this pandemic when we had Braden on the show, other than the fact that there's a designated hitter.
Yeah, and Moni, it's funny because the Padres, when I see predictions for them, it's their win total is probably anywhere between 28.5 and 31.5, and you would know that better than me, depending on what casino you're looking at. So basically, halfway in between that is 30. I think right now the Padres are probably looked at as a 500 team, but to me, the 500 team would have been over 162 games. I'm kind of definitely with Braden, and being a younger team, I think they can definitely get off to a fast start because again, every game this year is like 2.7 games in the past. And one thing I do like about a 60-game season, not advocating for this every year, of course, but just for this year, every game matters. And, over 162, you can have 6-7 game losing streak in June and say, hey, that's okay. Like, look at the Oakland A's. Oakland every year in mid-June's a 500 team, and what happens in the playoffs? But they better not start slow this year like they normally do, because if they would be at the equivalent of 500 in mid-June, the season's going to be over, and they're not going to be in the playoffs. So again, every game's going to have 2.7 times the magnitude of the game in the past. I think that's cool. Braden, what do you think?
Braden, 30.5 for the Padres. Over, baby, over.
30.5 is going to put them out of the playoff. They got to win at least 32 games. It sounds like, based on the math that we've done and how the season was last year at the 60 game mark. 32. If you win 32, you got a really good chance of making the playoffs. But you're still in the bubble. You're probably a wild card team. You win over 32 games, you're basically in. And if you win 31 or less, you're pretty much out, especially without the expanded playoff. I have heard rumors that they're still working on making an expanded playoff for 2020. I think that would be fantastic. I think that was the one missed thing in all these negotiations that needed to happen was an expanded playoff, especially with the season. More money to be made for everybody. I know there's a lot of different values and what have you. And I think it'd be way better for the sport to have more playoff teams in it. It didn't have to be anything crazy, but I think you needed to have an expanded playoff this year in particular. But around 30 games, I could see them winning 30. I could see them. I don't see them winning any more than 35, and I honestly don't see them losing any or winning any less than maybe probably 27. I think that's probably the range.
Adam, there's certainly some rule changes that are sneaking them all in on us on this shortened season. There'll be only one season, hopefully, of California tiebreaker. Can I call it that?
International tiebreaker.
That's a softball rule.
Love it. I love it.
I like that softball rule.
It's exciting. Come on, man. It's exciting. You don't have to. No. Hold on. No, hold on.
The
Now,
dumbest
you
rule
don't.
for
What I propose is the regular season only. No playoffs, and no World Series. It should
And
never
it's
end
not
like
going
that.
to be. Not going to be.
I know, and to me, honestly, it should only be used in the regular season because obviously playoffs and World Series can't end in ties.
But what else are we getting?
That's my opinion.
I have a different proposal for extra innings. You basically do the same thing, but put somebody on first. Because this is Major League Baseball. This is not like youth. This is not college where it's hard to get runs. These guys know how to score runs. They can bunt a guy over and get a guy on a sac fly.
Yeah.
Put a guy on first. Because if you put him on first, you need a hit to score. It's not like bunt him over and sac flies in. You got to get a base hit to score.
Could we actually see bunting again?
Only an extra innings.
It would speed it up more than not having the guy on base, and it would make it like you'd have to basically earn the run.
And what else we got? We got the 3 batter minimum is official, right? I guess the only thing we're missing is the electronic strike zone. That would have put us over the top, sneaking in all these rule changes for the shortened season.
But no, I mean, second, first base, whatever. I mean, just to make it more exciting. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've sat in a 22 inning, game. So it's so. Well, yeah, who can bunt anymore in MLB anyways? I mean, the Brett Butlers, the Ricky Hendricks.
Professional athletes, they can bunt.
No.
Stop watching the pictures.
They're not, they're not walking through the door anymore, guys. But no, I mean, I like Braden's proposal, the first base. I think that's, pretty good because, it shows who is better at strategizing. We talked about this. National League Baseball, there's more strategy, obviously, than the American League. I think that whole strategy deal will come into play.
There's another proposal I saw that AJ Cassaville put together, and I actually like this one too. And you don't start with anybody on base, but you start the 10th inning at the top of your order regardless.
Oh yeah.
And that way you get everybody. When the game matters, you got the top 3 guys coming up to hit. You're more likely to score anyway because it's the heart of your order, and both teams get a crack at it with their top 3 guys. I actually like that better, to be honest with you. It's even. It's like starting over again. It'll probably speed it up a little bit more. I think that's a good compromise if you really want to end these games quicker. But again, the one thing that I always have to say about the whole pace of play is the only one that complains are people like us that are in the media that are working the game. There's not a single fan that sits at the game that goes, man, I can't wait for this game to be over so I can go home. If you wanted to go home, you just get up and go home. There's no stopping you. If you're on TV, you just turn it off. The only people that have to stay the entire time are us. I personally have a problem with it. I'll watch baseball all day. I know tons of people in the press box that would rather be 10 other places than be at a baseball game. And it's very sad to say that. But
it is. Why are they covering the game then?
Hey, when we were 12 years old, we wanted the game to go 16 innings, okay? I mean, we were hoping for extra innings when we were a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't want to work a 22-inning game either, but if any fan really wants to sit there and watch 20, most fans want to watch a 22-inning game, and they'll sit there and stay. And if they don't, they just get up and leave. Nobody's complaining.
Well, heck, if I'm working the game, that's overtime for me. So.
Yeah, and Adam, you got something about those games that go 22 innings too. I mean, I know this. Like, for instance, you think about it. I know when I've worked Padre games, like if the game's in the 13th or 14th inning. It's 11 o'clock at night. All of a sudden, I'm calling Moni, who's calling Braden, who's calling Adam. I'll say, hey, that Padre game is in the 14th inning. Check it out. And you're going to watch till the end because I know I've done it before. It's after the 15th inning, I'm going to quit watching. Then tomorrow morning, you wake up, and guess what? Somebody scored in the 16th inning. If you'd stayed up 15 more minutes, you would see the end of the game anyway. So, again, once those games hit the 13th or 14th inning, the word gets around. And actually, sometimes their TV and radio ratings go up the later the game it goes once the word gets around.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating for that, though.
Padres had that famous, I didn't have to say famous, I don't remember, it was 21 or 22 innings against Montreal.
Yep.
Like 27, 28 years ago, something like that. Might even been 30 years ago.
Yeah, they had 22 at home.
Yep. Houston State in the regional final, and the loser had to get up the next morning and play at 9 a.m.
Yep.
Yeah.
It didn't end until 3 a.m. It was a tough turnaround for Houston State.
I laughed and scoffed at you guys when you were throwing out all the random things that we could, rule changes that we were possibly going to have once baseball resumed. Now I'm on board. I don't care. Let's just get out there, do whatever you want. Let's just get the game started. Right? We're gonna, like I said, 30 days to get ready. We're gonna play with like 3 preseason games. Something's not amiss. Something's crazy there, but it all came down to the negotiations. Braden, how did this? Who cracked?
A lot of, I don't really know cracked. I mean, I think maybe the players did to a certain extent, just because I thought the players missed mightily on this whole deal. I thought both sides are to blame for the reason why this went on so long. I thought the last deal the owner threw out there was pretty good, but again, if you factor in the fact that the players are holding out for $1 billion that they could potentially receive and split among themselves after successful agreements, I mean that's what they're holding out hope for is that and any type of negotiations moving forward. That's what it quickly turned into, and we saw that unfortunately unravel pretty early in the first couple weeks or so after the March 26th agreement, that this was going to be about 2021 and the collective bargaining agreement more than it was going to be about playing in 2020. And the owners kept throwing out BS proposals, and the players answered with the exact same type of BS proposal, just in their favor. And it was just nonsense back and forth to the point where the players are saying that the owners are not negotiating in good faith. They're trying to kill as much time, so they have to have a shortened season. I think both sides came out incredibly tone deaf in terms of the audience of what's going on. The fact of the matter is, most people, average Joes, are not going to care about millionaires and billionaires complaining about their money. That's just not the way we have so many people on unemployment, not the way we got people sick. There's a lot of people that have a lot of things going on with their lives that are way more important than baseball players arguing about dollars and cents with owners. And both sides, they both make a lot of money. And quite frankly, a lot of people will probably side with the players just because they make a little bit less than the owners do. But the other thing too is there's a lot of essential workers out there, people that have to do their jobs each and every day that don't get paid nearly as much as these guys are. And these guys go, look, I'm not sitting there playing for your entertainment. Well, guess what? I mean, as much as it sounds like it's going to be painful for me to say this right now, the reason you're getting paid that much money is because you are that entertaining and people want to watch you play. That's the reason why you get that kind of cash. And a lot of players don't want to accept that fact. And I know a lot of people that would kill to go play baseball for a living, but it's all about perspective. I mean, it's perspective of what the fans see, and it's perspective of what the players see. I see what the players see. Look, if I'm out there working and I'm putting my life on the line to a certain extent, right, with the coronavirus, and you can say whatever you want about the coronavirus, but the fact of the matter is they could get sick, and we don't know what the long-term effects are. And I don't want to get into the whole details of COVID-19 because nobody has any idea what's going on with that virus, regardless of who you are. And people will politicize it all you want, but the players don't know. I mean, it's not a foregone conclusion that everybody's gonna survive it. And even if you are part of the group of people that almost have zero chance, there's still a chance something poor happens. And there's a lot of guys that have underlying health conditions that we don't know about that are affected. We don't know about their family situations, who they live with, if their wife has underlying health conditions. I mean, at the end of the day, they're putting their livelihood on the line just as much as anybody else, and they don't want to have to suffer and not have to, get as much money as they deserve, that they think that they deserve, that's on their contract. I mean, if somebody told me I had to work for 30% of my contract, I'd be a little upset too. And it's a little bit different in terms of perspective for the players to the general public, because all of us right here in this group, I don't know what anybody makes, but I'm gonna tell you right now, all of us would probably love to do anything for $5 million as a pay cut. That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But to them, that's different. I mean, it's all about perspective. So it's just a nasty negotiation. And the worst thing that happened in baseball was it got out in the public, because then all of a sudden they're getting hit from both angles. At one point, the owners are cool, and then the players are cool, and it's back and forth of who's cool and who's not cool, and who's holding things up and who's not, and who's being selfish and who's not. I think at the end of the day, both sides did a very poor job in this. I think both sides are going to make it rough when you're coming into the 2021 collective bargaining agreement. I'm just glad we're going to have baseball. Hopefully we start soon. because it's not a guarantee we're going to get baseball next year due to negotiation problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
As I say, based upon how somewhat ugly it got over the last 3 months, do you think next year it's going to be even uglier because of this? I mean, nobody is not forgetting about it, obviously. I mean,
yes.
And nobody trusts each other. We saw that brewing for a while now. I mean, I saw it 3 years ago. You see it in the clubhouse. You see these guys talking about it, and they already didn't trust the owners 3 years ago, and now you have a situation where they might they don't trust each other to try to get something done for 2020. And the other thing is the players lose every negotiation. I mean, they get shafted every single time when they're talking about collective bargaining negotiations. So they're trying to finally get on top here, and they're using this to try to get into the book. First of all, they're trying to get into those books that the owners are never going to relinquish, and even if they win a grievance, they're still not going to relinquish. It's never going to happen. But there's a lot of things. There's a lot of work Tony Clark needs to do in order to get something going for the players in 2021 at the end of the season to get a good collective bargaining agreement that they can all agree on. But it's just ugly, and it's tough to see both sides. You're the owner, you're hemorrhaging money. Again, if you're $1 billion owner, you're not going to make a lot of people feel bad about you when you own a Major League Baseball team. And same thing with a lot of these players. I know a lot of players that don't make that much, and in the grand scheme of things, granted, all of us would probably love to have $200,000, $400,000, whatever the league minimum is. But for them, I mean, it's different. It's just different. It's comparing apples and oranges. And if we were in that situation and we were making that kind of money, I think we'd have a different opinion on the matter. Just as like us right now, not having any skin in the game in terms of us losing money, we want the entertainment. It's a mess all the way around. I'm just ready to see baseball back, and I'm hoping the next negotiations are not nearly as crazy as these ones were. But that's probably wishful thinking.
There was a question. Have you and Coach? I know because I kind of listen to your show on my lunch break, so while I'm at work. So, have you guys discussed what PJ was asking about? Is the clock, the service time clock?
Service time.
Will the having the young guys on that 60-man roster, will that start their serviceman?
No,
service
you have to be in the major leagues, right, to start your service clock.
Well, you can't get service clock unless you're on the 40, unless you're in the majors. Okay. So that's the other thing with the 40-man roster. So if you're the Padres, let's say, you have to make a lot of decisions if you want to bring a guy up like C.J. Abrams.
Or Mackenzie
one,
Gore.
you're feeding him the dogs early at 19. 2, you got to clear a roster spot. And 3, his time starts ticking, which is something you obviously don't want to do. So that's the thing. But anybody that's currently on the 40-man roster playing this year, that's a year's service time that the players wanted. So they're going to rack up a year on their contract. Every single one of those guys is. So guys like Mookie Betts, this counts as his 1 year with the Dodgers. Francisco Lindor will lose a year with the Indians. The thing that stinks the most is even if they didn't play, they were going to lose a year. And if you're the Padres, you just lost another year to Tatis, another year Paddock, and you owe them arbitration in 2021. So, or the year after, so 2022, you owe them arbitration. So all of a sudden, they're not as cheap as they once were. Being a young talent.
Well,
so there's a lot of, I mean, that would have been devastating to the Padres to have 80 games at Tatis in year 1 and 0 games at Tatis in year 2, and all of a sudden you lost 2 years of service for him.
Yeah. Well, for the Dodgers, I mean, if there would have been no baseball, they traded all those people or whatever it was for Mookie Betts, and they don't get anything for them. That would have sucked.
Yeah.
David Price's contract. That's what you get. You get David Price's $35 million a year, and then you never know if you're going to re-sign Mookie Betts. But Mookie Betts is a huge loser in this entire thing because
he is. Yes,
he's not. Regardless of what happens, he's not getting $400 million in the offseason. I mean, that's gone. I mean, that was already kind of a pipe dream as it is. He's in trouble in terms of getting the most money that he could potentially get because we don't know what these teams are going to be able to afford, including the likes of the Yankees and the Dodgers. And you know for a fact they're going to milk the pandemic as much as they possibly can. Hey, we don't have any money. We lost money this year. Like, we can't spend on free agency. We're not going to give you $35 million a year. Mookie Betts gets hurt the most probably in this deal. And not only him, but anybody. Think about anybody that's on a 1-year contract that's in his 30s. I mean, that might be it. That's it. I mean, he might never get a contract ever again, unless it's a minor league deal or something really cheap. So there's free agency, I think, is going to be a little bit crazier this year than in years past. And that's another thing the players whiffed on, is they had an opportunity to get rid of those compensation picks that kind of basically get teams to not bid on guys because they don't want to give up draft picks. If they get rid of that, you have more players in free agency that could potentially spend some money on some of these guys, and they whiffed at that one. But again, they want that $1 billion and that grievance case. And if that's what you're rolling, I mean, you're rolling the dice on that. But if you end up getting that, you won. But if you don't get that, you come out very bad. And Tony Clark is in trouble from the Players Association.
Yeah, and Braden, that's interesting because people are talking about how ugly it's going to get after 2021 when they go back to negotiations, which it will, but it's even going to get ugly before next season because, like you say, Mookie Betts isn't going to get the $400 million he thought he would. And again, like you say, the guys are going to get hurt. The guys are over 30 that are free agents, they're not going to get anything. I mean, and even the younger guys, if you're a 6-year player, because again, if I'm an owner, let's be honest, Braden Surprenant's my top player, and I was going to give him maybe $300 million over the next 8 years, and all of a sudden it's going to be, sorry, Braden, I don't know over the next 8 years that I'm going to have fans in the stands and I'm going to be able to afford you. So you remember how it was for a couple of years there where the free agents just weren't signing. Owners weren't signing in the last couple of years. They did more so this offseason, but that's going to be an issue before 2021. And then after 2021, we're going to have the contract issue. So sadly, the next year and a half in baseball, I think a lot of the talk's going to be that stuff, unfortunately. But I think the fortunate part, though, is that they're playing. Because as you know, a poll just came out where they asked people, is a 60-game season okay? And 77% of people said yes. Why did they say yes? They just want to see baseball. They don't want to hear all this other garbage. They just want to see Chris Paddock start on opening day for the Padres or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, exactly. There's only so much NASCAR and UFC I can watch.
I heard that Mookie Betts is pretty good at cornhole.
He's an athletic guy.
Come on, man. We're not Bernie Wilson talking about the cornhole national championships. Come on, man.
Bernie loves those. He remembers the cornhole gang at the old stadium.
Yeah.
So Preller gets a pass no matter what the outcome this year. Because we've got a rookie manager this year.
No.
No way. We have to perform 20. It's not about 2021 at this point for AJ Preller.
No.
If they come in last, he's in trouble. If they come in third, if they finish under 500 by like 3 games, I think he's in trouble. Because there's a lot of pros to the Padres right now in a shortened season. I mean, that should work in his favor. I don't think he's going to get overly judged on the season, but if they come out flat and do not play well, I mean, they're going to have a serious problem on their hands in terms of that entire front office. If they had expanded playoffs too, and if they still might do that, that's still a possibility that's still out there. Could you imagine if 16 teams made the playoffs and the Padres didn't? I mean, that would be a wholesale change in that entire front office.
Oh yeah,
Ron Fowler would have a conniption fit.
Right.
Heads will roll. Remember,
with the talent that they have, they can't be not making the playoffs if 16 teams make it. I mean, that's just it is what it is, and they had a long enough leash at the time, and that's something that definitely the owners will talk about. But I don't. If he finishes around 500 or a little bit over, I think he's probably okay.
Yeah, that's like an NBA team not making the playoffs. Come on, man.
Yeah, you got to be pretty bad not to make it, right?
Like the Warriors and the Hawks.
Yeah. Hey,
go ahead,
Mike.
I was saying, given the current social climate, I can guarantee you there's one statue in this county that's never coming down.
Number 19, out in right field, right?
Absolutely.
That's there. Yeah. Hey, you know something? I wonder if I could change subjects just for a minute, because Adam Paul, I know all of us are very involved with the Padres, but we're also very involved with prep sports. You were on a conference call tonight with the commissioner. Hey, Robert, okay, let me ask, before we get there, let me ask Braden a question, and Adam, we want to go to you about with the commissioner tonight. Braden, what's going on with prep football, though? Tell us, I know you're involved in Cathedral. How is practice going? Do you still think you guys are going to play your schedule? How did you reschedule all those out-of-town games? What's going on with prep football? And then I wanted to ask Adam, what's going on with the commissioner, because I know you're on the call with him tonight. Braden first.
All right, in terms of the football side of things, obviously, we're hopeful for a season, but we're not being overzealous right now in terms of playing on time. I think what's going to happen, and Adam, might change this, but I think come July 20th, they're just going to push back the start of the season, maybe to September, and be like, hey, we're going to reevaluate again in August. I mean, that's basically what they did in the spring. That's basically what I'm expecting right now. Anything that involves playing all the sports in starting in January all the way through, I think based on what we've been told from CIF, it sounds like that's like the last resort before they just don't play any sports this season. We've seen a lot of different things in terms of that, but I'm sure Adam will have more on that info. In terms of us practicing, we're doing our workouts right now. Based on our school, we got clearance from the Diocese of San Diego to do whatever we wanted to do. Of course, being a Catholic school, we're run by the Bishop of San Diego. That's us, it's us, Mater Dei, and I don't think Saints is run by they're run by the Franciscans or something like that. That's how they're run. But anyway, the Diocese of San Diego, they said we will have school in the fall with people in class. That's what they decided on. They said we're a Catholic-based organization, Catholic-based education. As Catholics, we are a community-based group, and we're going to be a community, and that's basically what they said. So we're expecting to have kids on campus in the fall at Cathedral, and I think at Mater Dei as well. I can speak for the schools that are run by the Diocese of San Diego. A little bit more than that, because I know a lot of city schools need to get cleared by the school district in order to practice. Our principal did not sign off on anything until we release a proposal to Dr. Wooten herself. So everything that we are doing is cleared by Dr. Wooten. And it's a lengthy process of checking in and making sure everybody's good to go. And I won't bore you with all the specifics, but the proposal we wrote for Dr. Wooten apparently came back, and she said it was so top-notch that she wants us to share it with other schools. So we are in the process, I think, of doing that to show other schools what we're doing. Basically, you're breaking everybody up into groups of 12. We have it staggered, so varsity goes from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., and they have their 12 groups basically broken up or their 12-person pods basically broken up by position. They're scattered all over the stadium field and in our weight room that we split in half in order to get more kids in there, but at a safe distance. Kids are wearing their masks. We check every kid in, take every kid's temperature. They check in their groups too, so there's not like a long line of kids showing up. If your group is up, you're checking in, and if your group's not up, you're waiting in your car for your group to be ready to go. Coach escorts you down to the field. You only work out in that group. There's no changing groups, so they've been in the same group for at least a week and a day now. And then JV will go from 7 to 9. They're on the lower field. We have enough space. Luckily, we're blessed to have enough space at Cathedrals where we can do a lot of this stuff. But aside from wearing the masks and aside from a couple other protocol things here and there, it's pretty much business as usual for our summer workouts. We plan on doing this for the next couple of weeks. We also plan on starting football on July 31st, like everybody else. Of course, we'll wait for CIF's discretion on that. Most of our coaches, are hopeful for a season. We're not guaranteed every game, of course. We do have to reschedule a couple games. We got Torrey Pines on the schedule now for week 1 if we play it. We had an incident with Nevada playing a school from Las Vegas. Nevada will not let any team inside the state of Nevada that is outside the state of Nevada. So anybody playing in Nevada school has had to cancel their game or reschedule. And Torrey Pines canceled their trip to Hawaii, so it worked out in that case. I do not know whether or not Coach Doyle is. I know he's probably working on it, but I don't know if he's finalized a game to replace the Honor Bowl. The Honor Bowl has been waived off this year. Too many teams traveling from New Jersey and all sorts of different parts of the country. So they waived it. I do know for a fact that Helix and Centennial were signed up for that week. So they're going to play each other that week instead. And then I know Steel Canyon was in talks with Scripps Ranch. I don't know if they finalized the game yet or not.
Yeah.
Nice
and then there's some other local Orange County teams that, of course, we would probably have access to as well. It sounds like De La Salle, the game is still on. That is our sister school up north. We have not decided whether or not we were going to fly or bus. We've come to the conclusion that we will probably be everybody on the plane ride anyway. So it's either, what's the difference between a plane and chartering buses in terms of the coronavirus, aside from the fact that it will take a lot faster to fly up there than it will to drive. That's still a decision that needs to be made, but one that will be interesting nonetheless. And our principal is very in favor of us doing that game as well. And we have full support from our school to get that game done. So that's a work in progress. Hopefully things clear up a little bit more by the time we play De La Salle. But as of right now, that game is a go. And the only 2 games that got canceled are 1, the Honor Bowl against a team from Nevada, and 2, our Week 1 game that was another team from Nevada, but we picked up a game in that process. So football-wise, we're good to go. Kids are in shape, best shape I've ever seen kids show up to us to camp. It looks like all they've been doing is sleeping, doing their Zoom classes, and working out. There's nothing really else they've been doing at home, but we're looking forward to the season. I'm sure Adam's got some more info on what the commissioner's office has to say.
Well, every Monday night I'm in a softball coach's Zoom meeting just before this meeting or this deal. And tonight, Mike Gross from Olympian, the Olympian softball coach, and of course everybody who knows him from his PA announcing, who hosts the deal, he had on Joe Hines, and he was on for about an hour and a half or so. And as you guys know, July 17th is July 20th is the CIF date, but July 3 days prior to that on July 17th is the community college making their decision on what they're going to do. And as you know, whatever it is you heard and read in the paper, Southwestern has canceled all fall sports. They will not play. So that's going to be interesting. But on that note, Joe was basically saying like what you were saying, Braden, as of right now, it's a go. They'll look at what's going on, hope, pray to God a miracle happens. July 20th. They said they're like, okay, football's going to go, but it's going to be up to each individual district. If things are still looking bad down in Imperial County, as they are right now, and also the South Bay, it's going to be tough to play in the fall. So there is, they're not going to keep pushing things back like they did, in the springtime. He said they're going to probably do it once, maybe twice at the most, and then like you said, the last thing that they want to do is that 3-season model in January or whenever that the proposal is. Be one 8-week season, another 8-week, an 8-week, or whatever that they do, basically modified. Nobody knows, and as of right now, with the numbers going up and them closing down things, I know that's just bars and whatever it was I heard today, wineries, whatever else. Who knows? So July 20th is the key date. Pray that something that stays the course and things hopefully go down and don't spike.
I'm feeling great. I don't know what it's been last 24, 48 hours. I've just, and I was feeling negative about the whole last 5 to 7 day thing. You look at those charts, but there's just so much testing going on, and yet the percentages, give it 2 weeks from now, come back to me, but just feel good. I just feel good.
And
we have a lot of sports, especially over at the radio station. We're going to be up to our ears in sports, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah,
hopefully. He was talking about also, one of the questions were asked by the different coaches and stuff, and he was talking about, he had mentioned officials association. I brought up the fact, I'm like, well, Joe, I don't know, I haven't been to a game yet in any sport where the officials aren't spring chickens. I mean, how's that going to work? What if they don't feel comfortable officiating? I mean, he's like, it's something we're going to bring up because it's a good point. I mean, there's not many young officials nowadays officiating any of our sports here at the prep level. I mean, you take a look at softball. As you know, Braden, there ain't buddy that I saw under. I mean, there may be one or maybe a few people under 50, but not many.
Fangelo pose more of a threat than the virus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've had to officiate a handful of high school football games, unfortunately, because of not booking officials, which we would. I mean, you'd have to get to a certain extent. You might have to start pulling fans out of the stands to officiate some games.
Yes.
Games going, but that would be a brutal thing to watch.
And that's one of the things, and that's one of the things also, he, I asked him about the fans in the stands because a lot of our schools, rely on that gate money. And, because I mean, like I had mentioned to him, I have a few friends who are managers and higher ups in movie theaters. And when they supposedly reopen, they're only going to be able to have maybe 100 people at the most in their theater per screening. And he wasn't sure how that was going to work. That hadn't been brought up yet by the CIF, the different sections and whatnot. But he thought that was a good question. They'll be talking about that.
The only thing I'll say about that is I kind of relate it back to having kids in school.
Yes,
if you don't have kids in school, I don't have any faith in their playing sports. Because how can you have kids do their classes on Zoom and then drive to school? How are you going to go practice and play? I mean, they're not going to be at school.
And that was the other thing he talked about.
But the thing is that's a problem for some school districts that we know of that not even virus-wise that funding has gone way down, that they're in trouble in terms of doing that. I know that, the South Bay, we see it on the news right now, the audit they're going through. And unfortunately, the mismanagement of money down there is going to affect a lot of kids to a point where I wouldn't be surprised. Even if this thing just magically disappears, I think the South Bay is in jeopardy of playing sports this season. And I think that's a real travesty. How many stories have we heard about, teams getting left places because the bus driver had to go home because they weren't going to pay him anymore in the time that he was alive. I heard that from a handful of South Bay schools where they had to have people come back and pick up kids from away games. That's just, and it's nothing to do with the school district jacked that up. It's not like, anybody at the school's fault. They got nothing, there's nothing they can do about it. But you see a situation where you might only have Mater Dei. Mater Dei might be the only school in the South Bay playing. And then if that's the case, where are all these kids going to go? You're going to see all these kids transferring all over the place to try to play sports, to go to a school in a school district that actually allows them to play, because the South Bay doesn't have any finances right now. And then the funding probably doesn't help them either. But that's a problem that needs to be fixed. That needs to be fixed as soon as humanly possible, and I hope it does. But I think that's more of a problem for the South Bay than the coronavirus is at this point.
Oh, absolutely great. It's just amazing, Greg, the mismanagement down there. Greg, you were talking about, a cathedral. What's going on there? I know with Christian and El Cajon, Pastor David Jeremiah on the weekends now, every weekend they're saying they are going to start on time. They're actively recruiting students right now. So I think with the private schools, it's probably a whole lot better. They're better run. I think, just a personal opinion, I think in a lot of ways they offer a better education. So I think that's going to be okay there. But again, the biggest issue, like you said, the schools in South Bay and just everybody in general, even don't know what's going on in the city. Just so many issues out there. We don't know who will be in school, who won't be in school. Just like if we go to college football, for instance, look at San Diego State. Supposedly, the football players are coming back July 7th. They start practice August 7th. Their first game September 5th. But then you ask the question if they'll even get there. And then even the question there is, let's say the Aztecs play Sacramento State on September 5th. The game's not going to be on TV. Let's say you can't let any fans in the stadium. So who in the heck is even going to watch that game? Who's going to be able to watch that game? Is it going to be even on Aztecs? What are you going to
do? Does it even count if nobody's watching?
Yeah, I don't know.
Can I get that on Pluto TV?
Maybe. Might as well just play that game on the practice field at the Mesa, man. That's probably better.
Yeah.
And save you some money. You don't have to play it in Qualcomm and pay for the Qualcomm lease. You might as well just play it on campus.
Yeah,
full steam ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask Braden one thing, though, because having gone to TCU and all, and you follow college football, a friend of mine in Dallas, Duncanville, a suburb of Dallas, asked me today, do you think there'll be college football? And I'm just not so sure, because in the NFL, 32 teams, and you can kind of control the situations, but every college is different. And I can see where the SEC, Southeastern Conference, they're going to want to play, but they're not going to care if USC and UCLA aren't playing. So what do you think is going to happen in college football? I
be a regional.
I think college football is going to happen. There's too much money involved, and that money is that's going to keep every sport afloat in college. Because if football goes down, they all go down. That's it.
Yeah.
It's no coming back from that, and you can kiss a lot of scholarships goodbye, unfortunately. But the SEC is playing. I'm going to tell you, The SEC is like the NFL. They're playing regardless of what's happening. I think the NFL is going to play regardless. Even if this thing gets worse, the NFL will find a way to play. They have the money and the funding to make things happen in terms of protocol and keeping their players safe. They'll wear hazmat suits if they have to. They will play. College football, I think, is so I'm going to go 100% for the NFL playing. They'll figure it out. College football, it's probably about 80 to 90%. I think they play, and I think the majority that's the SEC and the Big 12. Those are two conferences that have states that are really football is very important to them, and that's something that they want a lot, and they have the funding to do so. I think probably a select few ACC schools will do it, and I think there's a select Big 10 schools that will do it as well. The Pac-12, though, I think that one's pretty much up in the air. I think the Pac-12 is more cautious in terms of playing. Of course, 4 of the schools come from California. We know how California's been running our state. We don't
just
know
lost that big Under Armour deal.
Yeah, UCLA, 280 million.
You might have a situation where just the Arizona schools play or something, but I'm not as confident in the Pac-12. The one thing with the Big Ten is every one of their schools has a very distinguished medical school, so they got a lot of resources to keep everybody safe up there as well. College is a little bit different because you're dealing with kids and you're dealing with students. You're dealing with a lot more variables, a lot more people than you would with the NFL. But I think it's going to happen. Everybody's coming back. The other thing is everybody's coming back, and they're testing all these kids. And a lot of these kids are testing positive when they show up, and they want to blame it on football and what have you. They haven't done workouts yet, and it's better to have these kids on campus where they can be, 1, monitored and controlled, and 2, they can be taken care of way more than and probably at home. But by the way, a lot of these kids didn't even know they had the thing, and they would never have gotten tested, and they've been just walking around doing what college kids do. We see it right now, Pacific Beach. I mean, how packed is the beach all the time, and all these young kids are everywhere. That's what all these kids were doing before they showed up back to campus. So you get them out, you get them, you're taking care of the situation, you're confining them to a spot that's, 1, safe, and 2, they can put a kind of control on everything in terms of spreading the virus. Now those kids are not out and about asymptomatically spreading it to people, so it's probably better that they're on campus right now than anything else. And again, I mean, like LSU, they had 30 kids quarantined, right?
Yeah.
20 of them didn't even test positive. They were just precaution. 10 of them tested positive, and all 10 of them went to a nightclub the night before and got it at a nightclub. So it wasn't even like they got it while working out. So everybody's going to freak out every time a kid gets a positive test. They're going to treat it like it's a death sentence. Yes, is this thing serious? Yes, absolutely. But a lot of people survive, especially college-level kids. So we got to stop acting like they're going to die immediately, because they're not. They're probably going to fight it off and give the kid a chance before we start writing it off. Texas Tech, 23 kids tested positive, 21 have already recovered. I mean, and the other 2 that haven't recovered yet are in good condition, and they have very mild symptoms. So you're going to see a common theme. You're going to see a lot of these schools are going to pipe up with a bunch of positive cases, and most of them are coming from kids showing up, not necessarily them getting it at school. And that's what it's going to be. And the thing is that I find very interesting is people freak out thinking this wasn't going to happen. It's going to happen. This thing's not going away. I mean, it's still there. It's still a threat. It's still contagious. You have to, these kids are at less risk. That's why they can open up things like bars and restaurants and, proceed at your own risk, wear a mask and do your thing. Like Adam Silver said, you have to learn to adapt and basically live with this thing until they come up with a vaccine or they get rid of it. And until then, it's going to be there. It's not just going to magically disappear. So the more we can live with it and find ways to safely live with it, and hopefully we can come up with some remedies and things that can save a lot of people's lives and hopefully eradicate this thing as quickly as possible, the better we're off. Until then, wear your mask, social distance, wash your hands, do everything you need to do like you would for any type of illness. I mean, I do that during the flu season. Okay, if I don't wear a mask, then I probably don't as socially distant, but I'm washing my hands all the time. I never went to the grocery store before the pandemic where I didn't wash my hands afterwards. It's disgusting. You should be doing that anyway.
Well,
one of those things and play ball.
Well, one of the things I think it's going to, one of the things I think that's going to affect a lot of the schools, and schools are cutting sports right now, is budget cuts. If they're not getting students into, physically on campus, who the heck is going to pay, what you're already paying to go online? I know I would tell my kid to defer if I had a son or a daughter going to SDSU or USC. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I mean, there's big budget cuts going to be happening at a lot of these schools, and private schools aren't, they may not be affected as much as the public schools, but they're not not prone to the budget cuts coming.
They're not getting that funding, and if they don't play, they don't get the TV contracts, which a lot of these schools rely on. I mean, people just think the schools are just making amples of money. I mean, most of these athletic departments are breaking even if they're lucky.
Yeah.
That's on the athletic side. And Adam, like you were saying, I wouldn't pay for that. I wouldn't pay to go to school. You pay. I mean, what do you basically pay for college education for? Aside, why are you paying all that money? You're basically paying for the experience. I mean, that's what it is. You can get the same education at junior college. You can get the same education online. You're paying for the experience. I mean, that's what it is. That's what people pay for. And if you're not going to be there, and you got all these fees like the gym fee that didn't get waived at a lot of these schools, and all the stuff that you pay for on campus that's not getting waived, I'm not going. No. I would recommend it. This is the best year ever to go to junior college. I'm a component. I'm an advocate for junior college. I think it's a great decision, especially if, one, you don't know where to go, and two, you don't know what you want to be yet. Go to junior college. Save a fortune of money and take all the general education classes you need because it counts the same as any other school. Yeah. You don't get looked differently for going to junior college. It's all the same stuff. And you can learn everything. You can knock out 2 years and then go to whatever university you want to go to if you really wanted to. And some schools will take you after the first year. So this is the best year to go to junior college. I don't know why you would ever pay top dollar full price to do Zoom classes online from your own house. That makes no sense to me. And I think a lot of people deserve to be they deserve to be upset when it comes to having to pay full price for college education that they're not going to get the full benefits from. And if it's going to be a year-long thing, I'm out. I'm either taking the year off or I'm going to JC. I do know there are UCLA in particular is not going to count junior college classes towards their degree for this year because they don't want to have kids leave and they lose the tuition. I know a couple kids that were thinking about doing that. But they're basically saying, well, if you go to junior college, it's not going to count. Well, the hell with you, I'm out of here, man. Like I'm going to take the year off. I got to do what I got to do. I'm not going to sit there and pay the amount of money I'm paying to go to school for the experience, and I'm doing it from my house. I mean, that's just not the case. And same thing for any incoming freshman. I mean, if you didn't get in the school that you're dreaming of going to, and then you don't you're not going to get the full experience. You're supposed to pay $60,000 a year. Go to junior college. Get your GEs done. That would be my advice. Again, it's different. I'm not fully in that situation, but that's something I would recommend to any sibling of mine, any child of mine that if I had one, I would say the same thing.
When I was substitute teaching, I was told the students, when they'd ask, talk about colleges, if you're unsure, don't go to a San Diego State where you're going to, spend $500 or, a unit or whatever it is. Go to a community college where you're going to pay, $56 now a unit. It's going to be a lot cheaper in the long run, still counts. The most you'll spend is on books, if that, and you can transfer after a year or whatever.
So I did. I'm a product of Grossmont College.
Same here.
Absolutely. And Braden, like in your case, for instance, obviously you went to TCU, and certainly you wouldn't want to be sitting at home in San Diego going to TCU online. I don't think that would have worked.
I'm not paying it, especially what TCU costs nowadays. I mean, that's like $60,000. I ain't paying that sitting at home.
No.
I still got a friend that's still in college, and he went to summer school. This is the deal with him. It's like $3,500 for summer school normally. You're supposed to go, and they were going to have classes. It was supposed to be Monday through Friday. $3,500 for summer school for like a 4-week semester, or whatever. Now he's got to pay $3,500. They meet twice a week on Tuesday and Thursday at home on his Zoom call, and he still has to pay the same price. And it's like a shortened semester and whatever. And I'm like, he was like, I don't know why I got to pay full price for this. This is ridiculous.
Nice. Well, I'll tell you what, Braden, we basically reached our hour. We really appreciate Braden Surprenant from 97.3 The Fan for being with us again. And again, Braden, we look forward to hopefully hearing you on some pregame and postgame shows here in the next few weeks. And hopefully a couple months down the line, we'll hear your voice again as the play-by-play voice on high school football in San Diego. I know there's still a lot before that happens, but we're looking forward to that too. We want to thank you for being with us. And as always, Adam Paul from EC Preps. And as I always say, most of all, Ramon Scott, because I don't know how the heck he does it, but he gets us on the air every week. So, Moni, thanks so much for doing that. We want to thank everybody for watching tonight and look forward to being back with you again next week. So, everybody have a good night. Thanks so much for watching.
Good night, everyone.